Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amber Troop, and I am the Mentor Michigan Coordinator at the Michigan Community Service Commission, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. Today's webinar is part of the Research and Action series, which was designed by Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership. And this series was designed to share the latest research with mentoring professionals and to provide you with tangible strategies that can be implemented within your programs. This series can help programs make decisions based on current research that is ultimately linked with positive outcomes. There are 10 issues in this series. Each issue provides you with 3 parts. First, research, which includes a peer-reviewed article that is written by a leading scholar that summarizes the latest research available on the topic and its implications for the field. Next, it provides you with an action, which are the tools, activities, templates, or resources that were created by Mentor with concrete suggestions on putting theory into practice. And finally, resources. It provides you with a list of additional resources for further research and other tools that can help you on the topic. Here you can see the 10 issues that are covered in this series. Mentor Michigan is hosting monthly webinars to share each of these issues with the field here in Michigan. We're already to the point where we're starting to repeat some topics. Today's webinar will address issue number 4 from the Research and Action series, which is fostering close and effective relationships in youth mentoring programs. To view the complete list of dates for the Research and Action series and the many other webinars that are being offered through Mentor Michigan, simply go to mentormichigan.org and click on the Training and Technical Assistance button. On this page you'll find the complete list of upcoming training and technical assistance opportunities geared specifically towards mentoring programs. You can download this issue from the website that's listed on this slide. All 10 issues are available for free download, and if you haven't already done so, you may want to go ahead and download issue number 10. There's a lot of information in this issue, way more than we can cover in today's webinar, so go ahead and download that to view the complete document. The research section of this issue was written by Dr. Jean Rhodes of the University of Massachusetts in Boston, and for those of you that are familiar with this work, she's really a leading expert in the mentoring field and has many publications. So jumping right in now to issue number 4, successful mentors really seem to understand and appreciate their mentees coming into their lives to help them discover their unique strengths and capabilities. This sort of empathy and sensitivity really goes a long way towards facilitating close relationships, as does the mentee's willingness to fully engage in the mentoring experience. Since initial resistances may be strong, and trust and understanding ultimately tends to deepen with time, relationships, successful relationships also require consistency and persistence. Today we're going to discuss characteristics of effective relationships, the importance of mentor and mentee approach and involvement in the relationship, the value of regular contact and match duration, practical implications for mentoring programs, and finally, the tools provided in the action section of this issue. For those of you that are familiar with this series, the amount of material covered in the action section does vary issue by issue. Some have many action steps that you can implement, and others are a little bit weak in the action section. Every mentoring relationship is different, but in this session we're going to discuss guidelines and suggestions that you can use as a framework, which obviously will leave room for specific needs and abilities of the mentor, mentee, and of your mentoring program. Researchers have identified a range of factors that appear to be associated with stronger relationships. Volunteers who have had prior experience in formal or informal helping roles or occupations, for example, seem to be at an advantage, as do those who are sensitive to the socioeconomic and cultural influences in those youth's lives. A basic sense of their ability to be effective on the part of the mentor, even in the face of complicated situations and new experiences, is another common factor in successful relationships. In addition, effective volunteers appear to be better able to model and encourage skills and positive behaviors and to discourage negative behaviors. The mentor's influence could be subtle, however, requiring the right blend of support, structure, and guidance. The interaction style of the mentor can have a great influence on how satisfied the mentor and mentee are with the match. In a study that was done by Morrow and Stiles, they found that mentoring relationships tended to fall into two broad categories. This reflecting the differences in the mentor's approach to the relationship, which were labeled developmental and perspective. Satisfied pairs, defined by feelings of liking, attachment to, and commonality with the other member, were determined to be more developmental or youth-focused. Prescriptive pairs, on the other hand, were categorized by adult-governed goals, no adjustment of expectations on the part of the adult, and finally a lack of consistent support from the adult. Matches in these types of relationships ultimately tended to be less satisfied. Along similar lines, a study of available literature on mentoring shows that successful mentors tended to be steady and involved presence in the youth's lives, respecting the youth's viewpoints, and seeking supervision from support staff when needed. Moving on to the next slide, this is a more collaborative approach, which is consistent with other research, suggesting a supportive approach balanced with encouragement, which is needed to achieve longer-term goals, and expectations. A study of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program found that relationships distinguish themselves on the basis of the support, structure, and activity that the mentors provided. Mentees who characterize their relationships as moderate in levels of activity and structure reported the largest number of benefits, including decreased alienation from parents, decreased conflict with friends, and an improved sense of self-worth and school competence. It's also interesting to note that no benefits were evident for unconditionally supportive relationships, thus suggesting a need for mentors to be more than simply good friends. Importantly, however, mentees seem to benefit from being actively involved in determining goals and activities. Relationships in which the youth and mentor jointly decide on activities and goals, as opposed to being driven primarily by the interests or expectations of the mentor, have been found to predict greater relationship qualities and duration, as well as improvements in how the youth relates to other adults. Helping youth to set and work towards goals, and then providing the support to foster achievement appears to be beneficial, especially if the goals are agreed upon by the mentor and youth in accordance with the youth-centered approach that we earlier described. Within this general framework, mentors who remain flexible to the needs and the developmental stage of their mentees appear to be more successful. Of course, good mentors take their cues from their mentees to strike a comfortable balance among having fun, working towards practical goals, and exploring emotions. Looking now at the mentee's role, mentees share some responsibility for the success of the relationship. From the onset, mentees should be provided with realistic expectations regarding what their mentors can and cannot do, and their own role in maintaining the relationship should be emphasized. They should be encouraged to take active ownership of the process, although some youth may be initially passive or even resistant. With case management and mentor persistence, the mentee may become more cooperative and then ultimately begin to take more initiative in the relationship. Beyond this initial resistance, many mentors and youth encounter occasional conflict and disappointment as the relationship progresses. As with any close bond, a mentor-mentee relationship is not necessarily free of difficulties. Mentors should remain sympathetic to the fact that some adolescents in mentoring programs have experienced difficulties and separations in other important relationships in their lives, and this really affects their capacity to form trusting bonds with mentors. Close intergenerational relationships are often laced with tension and conflict, as the need for autonomy or self-fulfillment can conflict with the needs for closeness or help. Yet conflict and its successful resolution can help individuals understand their differences and move forward towards those goals that they've set. Mentors and youth who can ride out the occasional storms or other times when the mentoring relationship feels awkward or unrewarding appear to be more likely to yield the benefits of the relationship. Studies of both informal and formal mentoring ties highlight the significance of how often mentors and youth spend time together. In addition, research shows that those youth with the longest matches receive the most benefits from mentoring. Others have also found evidence of apparent positive effects for longer matches and negative effects for matches that end prematurely. Now we want to hear from you a little bit. We're going to ask you to participate in a poll. We want to know how often you expect your matches to meet. So there's a poll open now on the right-hand side of your screen. If you could take just a few minutes to go ahead and answer that question. Okay, thank you for your response. It looks like the majority of you on this call have matches that meet multiple times per month. Some of you also referenced once a week. We're going to move on now and talk about regular contact and why that's important. And it looks like most of you on this webinar today do have that regular contact. Regular contact has also been indirectly linked to positive youth outcomes through its role in allowing other desirable practices to occur in the mentoring relationship. So, for example, regular meetings often lead to engagement in beneficial activities, providing emotional and instrumental support, and a deeper integration of the adult into the youth's social network. The best youth outcomes arise from matches that meet on a regular basis and last for a significant amount of time. We're going to ask you a minute for one more poll, and we want to know about your match duration and how long do you ask your mentors to commit to the match. So go ahead and participate in that poll now on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay, well, thank you for your response. This is very encouraging to see that 100% of you on our webinar today require your matches to meet at least 1 year. We know that this makes a huge impact on our matches as well, as duration is so important. Although rarely considered in youth mentoring, longer and stronger relationships are often mutually beneficial. Indeed, it would be a mistake to assume that mentors stand nothing to gain. When mentors do not derive benefits, relationships are at greater risk for termination. One-sided relationships drain mentors of enthusiasm and leave mentees feeling burdened by the imbalance. Alternatively, when mentees see that admired adults find it personally rewarding to spend time with them, they feel a new surge of self-worth and importance. I think those of you in the case management role have experienced this and know how critical it is for those mentors to also see some gains and some benefits in this relationship. Mentors in youth are likely to encounter both rewards and challenges in the formation and development of their relationship. Match support is therefore essential for mentors in youth, particularly during the early, more fragile stages of the relationship. Programs that offer adequate structure and support increase the likelihood that close relationships will be formed and that those relationships can endure difficult periods. In fact, program practices that support the mentor and mentee relationship, such as training mentors, offering structured activities for mentors and youth, having high expectations for frequency of contact, and monitoring overall program implications, produce stronger positive effects. These practices, which also speak to the program's ability to not only match mentors and youth, but also sustain those matches, merge with the practices identified by other researchers to be beneficial. So to sum up the research portion, every mentoring relationship is different. It's a unique blend of the volunteers and youth's experiences, personalities, and circumstances. Success requires motivation, commitment, and flexibility on the part of the adult and the youth, along with an effort on the part of the program to really support each match and all of its complexity that it endures. The guidelines and suggestions that are presented here and elsewhere are likely to be most effective when they are used not strictly, but as a framework that leaves room for volunteers' intuitive wisdom and the youth's unique developmental needs. Moving on now to the action portion of this issue. Research suggests that the benefits for youth participating in mentoring relationships are strongly related to the degree of closeness that is formed between the mentors and mentees. However, many mentoring programs struggle to cultivate these types of relationships in their programs. In her article, Dr. Rhodes describes the importance of fostering relationships that are built on trust, that offer support, and engage mentors and mentees in mutually enjoyable activities. This action section provides two useful tools that programs can use to encourage closer, more effective relationships between mentors and mentees. The first tool is a series of questions that programs can ask mentors and mentees during supervision to assess the degree of closeness and strength of the mentoring relationship. The second tool is a pledge that programs can use before matching to help mentors understand and reflect on the commitment that they are about to make. So the first tool provided in this issue involves a series of questions that programs can ask mentors and mentees during supervision, like I said, to assess the degree of closeness and strength of the mentoring relationship. But the questions vary between the mentor and the mentee, but ultimately they address frequency. Successful mentoring relationships are built on consistent and frequent match meetings. Second, support. In order to build trust, support and encouragement are essential. Next is structure. The youth-focused approach in which the mentee and mentor agree on activities is considered a strong predictor of positive outcomes. Next is guidance. Effective mentors act as positive role models to help guide youth. And it also asks what has the mentee learned. And then 5, excuse me a minute, mentor advocacy and mentee engagement. This is the mentor's belief in his or her ability to be effective and how comfortable the mentee is in asking for help or guidance. These are also important indicators of success. So these questions, along with a rationale and strategies for programs to apply for each category, are on pages 13 through 18 of this issue. Make sure to take a look at these pages and think about the supervision techniques that are employed in your program, and maybe you'll find some room for some improvement as well. Next, the second tool in this issue offers a pledge that programs can use with the mentors before matching. And this is on page 19 of the issue for the entire pledge. But to summarize, the pledge has 9 parts that asks the mentor to commit to making a difference, being consistent, encouraging another, building a mutual relationship, asking for assistance, recognizing that change comes slowly, remaining sympathetic, realizing that their actions carry new weight and responsibility, and finally, ultimately, being a mentor. This pledge can be used to help mentors understand and reflect on the very important commitment that they are about to make when entering this match. So a few resources now for you. That pretty much summarizes this issue. You can always check out Mentor's website, the National Mentoring Partnership. They have many resources available on their website for mentoring programs, mentors and mentees in relation to this topic of supporting matches, including the Learn to Mentor Toolkit. And this is a resource and training guide for new mentors. And you can find all of this information on their website, which is at mentoring.org. Next is the Education Northwest National Mentoring Center. They have several valuable resources on their website, particularly under the mentor-mentee training and relationship support section of their website. To get there, follow the directions on the slide. And then we've also provided you a couple highlights of some of the things that you might want to check out on their website. Finally, any questions or comments that we can address? All right, well, if there's no questions or comments, thank you for joining us today. Once again, this was the Research in Action number 4. Please check out the Mentor Michigan website at mentormichigan.org and click on the Training and Technical Assistance button to see the complete list of webinars that we have coming up over the next several months. And once again, if there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you for participating today.